Good morning. Happy Tuesday to everybody. I wanted to just have some coffee with everybody this morning. I figured I can't make any posts or talk to my friends, so why not just jump online, have a coffee together, and talk about some positive eco news. The reason is we're all stuck at home. Everybody is, I think, extremely stressed out overall. And why not? We're all usually on the fringe of our lives, of our society, of our friends, because of our eco views. So why not just get together? Let's have a little coffee together. So what I wanted to do is bring in. There we go. We got our normal together. Today's conservation coffee. Hey, Colleen, good morning. Hey, Camilla, good morning. Yes, caffeine soup. Cheers to you. I've got a big old bowl of it today. It's going to require a lot today. But, there's so much going on negatively. I can't even say that word. That's how positive I try to live my life, honestly. But what I thought is, there's so many things, and we all focus day to day on the problems because a lot of us are trying to be problem solvers for the future. We're trying to create a new way. We know it's not working, right? So it's true. It's more like a bucket of coffee. So what I thought we could start doing is in the mornings, I'd love to come on, have coffee, say hi to everybody, and let's just talk about some positivity because there is amazing things going on when we remove ourselves from the minutia of the politics or the minutia of the problems. And, for my friends in the U.S., even though we're not allowed to leave the country right now, there are innovations worldwide, and we are worldwide citizens. So I think it's important that we kind of discuss everything about that. So I hope you guys are having a. Now, Colleen, I know you've probably got some caffeine soup on the brew, if not in the thermos already, out and about, trying to save the environment. And Camilla, I hope you're enjoying either some tea or coffee, however that goes. And everybody out there, cheers to you. Now, coffee is one of those things. Is amazing. When I was traveling throughout a lot of the Asian areas, it's considered a coffee belt, and they have some of the best coffee in the world. We get some of the best coffee in Cambodia. Amazing. And in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, they have really high-end coffee shops on every street. It was amazing. It's weird because they were empty, because it's like a brand new thing. You find 30 boutique coffee shops next to each other. So they're still getting used to it. Everybody loves coffee there. But, it was so empty there that Pete and I went in and were able to do an entire podcast. We took over the place. We set up lights. We made the booths, rearranged them, shot, for an hour. And not even one soul walked in, So they were just happy that we were down there drinking all the coffee we could. And believe me, it's always an important adventure. 3 cups down, thermos is full. That's it. Litter patrol. That's what I'm talking about. So, today I wanted to start off with what I think is really one of the most beautiful stories. A lot of us have heard recently that by the end of the year, they're planning on auctioning off a lot of the Arctic zone in the sands area. Now, the reason is it's been an exclusive zone that has not been open for oil or drilling yet, which is understandable. It's beautiful. Now, recently, I'm sure everybody's aware there's been a huge oil spill in Russia. And this is a picture of it, actually. It's going through into the rivers, and it's turning all the rivers red. So it's really quite a fascinating image. But in light of all these oil spills and all these things, they are going to be reopening oil drilling in the Alaskan Reserve, which is crazy. But there is good news. This is what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about good news today. The good news is Deutsche Bank said that they're going to end financing for new oil and gas projects in the Arctic region effective immediately. Yes. Huge victory for all of us environmentalists. So, one of the last few places left on the U.S. Coast that has not been open for industry. And it's not. And the beauty is, even though the government is going to open it for pillaging, Deutsche Bank, one of the major funders of oil and gas, has said, no, I don't want to be part of this anymore. As a matter of fact, it's pretty cool. They have actually said that they have a new fossil fuels policy. And what they're going to do is limit the financing activities that involve any oil, gas, coal, and they pledge to the global business activities to end all coal mining in 2025 at the latest, in order to, quote, help drive the transformation to a sustainable economy, end quote. Super cool. Deutsche Bank, fantastic. That's what we need. We need the big companies and us all talking about the same thing. And down the road we'll go and we'll do oh my gosh, spill in the Everglades. Oh, I heard about that. Colleen, do you have information you could let us know actually about the damage on that? It's kind of been difficult to find information on that. I think that's crazy. And as I understand, they're trying to open Florida for even more drilling. I want to say on the Atlantic side, because I believe the Atlantic side of almost all of the U.S. is exclusively for fishing and not for drilling. But that is actually about to change if the government has its way. But luckily, Deutsche Bank said we're out of here. So it's awesome. Deutsche Bank is acting like a B Corp. And if you're not familiar with a B Corp, in the United States, you're allowed to register as a for-profit corporation or a for-profit, what's called a B corporation. Now, the B corporations, in their bylaws or in their laws, have to state that they will take into account the effects of their business on the community, and that they will devote themselves towards a more sustainable future, and that they will limit difficult things like that. So I just, it's something that is a huge step forward. So, when you have an A corporation, which is a major bank, acting like a B Corp, which is a sort of a corporation with a heart to it, a great example of that for people that are familiar with environmental stuff is Patagonia. Patagonia is a B Corp. So B Corps try to put money back into things. Like, for example, Patagonia, they don't even want you to buy their clothing. As a matter of fact, if you take old clothes to most Patagonia stores, they will sew them and repair them for free. Little sustainable tip right there, everybody. I'm not even making this up. Contact your local Patagonia store. Tell them that you want to bring your clothes in to have them mended, and they will take care of that for you. They do not believe in the wasteful use of buying new clothes when we have all these things we can recycle. So Colleen says there's no amount released. Whew. It's good to know. An exploration site located in Big Cypress National Park, one of the most unique ecosystems in the world. Jeez, they've stayed very quiet, and I can't get any information about it. That is crazy. Thank you for letting us know about that, Colleen. So you guys are probably maybe even hearing, if you're not in Florida, you're hearing it for the first time here, that there is a spill in the Everglades. We're talking the Everglades. I mean, this is one of the most biodiverse areas in, for sure, all of our country, but it's also one of the top biodiverse areas in the world. And to have a spill in there affects everything. And I cannot even verbalize it as well as I can with Colleen. But Colleen, maybe we can actually have you come on, maybe this weekend or next weekend if you'd like. And I'd love to talk more about this. And please keep us updated on this as well. And, everybody, if you're not following Colleen, check her out on Facebook, because she does a lot of great live posts. She does a lot of posts from the front line and is always out there fighting for clean water. And, we're talking about positivity today. Colleen is somebody that I can say is a very positive influence on our entire conservation group. So, okay, awesome. All right, Colleen, that sounds good. As you know, I'm banned from Facebook. So I'll send you an email and we'll set up the thing for this week. And I would love to have you back on. It's okay. Anyway, it would be great to talk to you about what's happening down in the Everglades, and also about all the sustainability issues that are running around that way. So again, we talk about positivity. We talk about solutions. Colleen always goes out and fights for solutions. Deutsche Bank is giving us a great solution by really becoming a leader in how investments are considered. It's always been considered safe to be in oil, gas, and all these other things. So this is fantastic that they are ramping it down. I think, thank you, Deutsche Bank. I never, I like most conservationists. I grow up, in a lot of ways, thinking about, corporations as the enemy, but they're not. We need them on our side if we're really going to affect change over time. We can't do it alone. And if we could have, we already would have. So next great piece of news, Okay, as everybody knows, it's COVID. We're all inside. I don't care what side of the mask issue you fall on. The point is, you may or may not have to wear one in a place. But the good news, so the bad news about masks, regarding forgetting all the political stuff, the bad news about masks is the excessive amount of waste. Now, this is something that really upset me a while back when a lot of my friends in Florida were going onto the beach and wearing these disposable masks. And it was, and then they would just leave them there. And so disposable masks are a massive waste. And as everybody knows, these disposable masks are designed to prevent you from spreading things, not to prevent it from coming in. So for people to wear them in kind of dangerous or polluted areas doesn't really help the people, although it used to be a very popular thing. Especially down there. So I've always been wondering if there's a way to make sustainable masks. And right now, there is so much waste. So I was looking at it, and the sales of disposable face masks are set to rise up to 229 billion this year. And you know what, Colleen, you're right. The masks are becoming the new straws, exactly, when it comes to litter cleanups. And that's crazy because I know Colleen goes out and does cleanups. So she knows exactly what the trash is that's making it back to our waterways. And this is a major problem. The masks have the little rubber band thing, and you think, what can I do? I still want to be eco-conscious. There are fantastic solutions. Remember, you're only stopping stuff going out, so you can use not your shirt, but you can use cloth instead of the mask. But even better, they are making recyclable bamboo masks, which should be right around the same cost. Everything in it is completely compostable, and it's from the abaca tree in the Philippines. It's a Philippine company. They use this to make tea bags. They say tea bags and banknotes, and that's the major use of it. And it comes from a bamboo, which is a sustainable form of agriculture. Bamboo is something that they continue to grow and grow and grow. So bamboo can never be difficult. It used to be back in the day, they would take bamboo down, and it was a problem. But you know what? The good news is bamboo is really sustainable these days. So great news on the face mask front. People are now starting to make bamboo masks. Hey, Trey, good morning. Trey Porter, everybody. Trey Porter's amazing. I got to work with him down in the Amazon, down in the deep, deep rivers of Peru. And if there's ever an example of cool under pressure, is this guy. I got to tell everybody, it's a really funny story. Trey is with us, and we're in the middle of the Amazon, and we have this little boat. It's not really meant to travel in the way that we took it. And it's got this little teeny prop on the back. It's like this big, and it's a long board, and he's just driving the boat. It's going like, and that's the sound you hear for 10 hours when you're in the Amazon. You think the Amazon's going to sound like nature, but it doesn't. When you're in a boat, it's just and Trey just says, prop's gone. And all of a sudden, we were in the middle of the river, and we didn't have the propeller for the boat, and we're just floating. Anyway, the guy was so cool under pressure. It was incredible. That's one of my favorite things. The prop's gone. So, and not even joking, Trey, we then went to a small village that had no particular name. And we pulled up and we walked into all the villages down there are built with a single road. So you go down that single road, and Trey and I went to a place called the Titanic was the name of the store. You really can't make this stuff up. And in the Titanic is where they sold us the one nut that we needed to fix our second prop. We had a backup prop. We just didn't have a nut to put it on. And that cost us $20, which is, of course, outrageous. It would have been like $1 thing. But they knew we were in need. And we were stranded, literally stranded in the middle of the Amazon River. And saved by the Titanic with Trey Porter. Anyway, Trey says, masks, gloves, takeout containers. Yes. Amazon packaging. Oh, yeah. All experiencing a huge uptick. And you know what, Trey, that's a good point. Everybody keeps talking about how Jeff Bezos is now one of the richest people in the world. And think about that Amazon packaging, all of those wasted pieces of plastic they use with air inside of them. to so that everybody's things are safe. Packaging is a fantastic area that there's been very little innovation, but people are trying to move towards more sustainable fashions with it. Personally, when I pack stuff, I always end up sending a wardrobe because instead of using the packaging, I always go with clothing and wrap stuff in clothing. 90% of the time it makes it. So, yeah, good point, Trey. We need to really handle the masks. The gloves are a huge problem. But the gloves are also something that I feel like, unless you're really doing medical stuff, the convenience of a rubber glove shouldn't be available to you. Rubber is a toxic compound. And, when I took a UN class to become certified in marine litter, when I took that class, what they explained to us is there's upstream and downstream solutions to pollution. And these solutions involve basically the upstream is the manufacturer. Then they put it in our waters and it goes downstream. And then people, like Colleen, go out and clean up the mess and pick it up and see what's coming from the upstream. So we have downstream solutions that we've all organized ourselves because we care about where we live. We care about the future. But the upstream solutions, and I believe the companies will and can turn our way and see things from our perspective as long as we keep financial pressure on them. One thing I always recommend to everybody is what I use to buy all my products, buy my ethics. Oh, I misspelled it. There should only be one B in there, everybody, but it's boycott.com. Hey, Janine, good morning. Thanks for joining. Today is conservation coffee. Just thought we'd talk about positive stuff. In a world where everybody's very focused on the minutia and very stressed out from that same minutia, we should just widen our view a little bit and look at all the positives. So although they've opened the Arctic, they want to open the Arctic for drilling, Deutsche Bank is leaving drilling and oil, which is beautiful. We need to get away from fossil fuels anyway. Face masks, huge problem with throwing them away, and now they're going to start making them with bamboo and other compostable materials, which would be fantastic. And Camilla says not even just the pollution from being discarded, manufacturing. That's a great point. And Camilla, that's a good point. The manufacturing alone is something that is so unregulated. The places like Cancer Alley, where we're going to be going down and showing everybody very soon what's going on down there, they have unregulated manufacturing that is giving children cancer at the rate of 600 times the national average. It ranges from 60 times the national average to 600 times the national average, depending on which parish you're in New Orleans. How did that become okay? How's that acceptable for manufacturing? Manufacturing is so toxic that it really should be kept as a very strictly controlled and only for industrial use kind of thing. Like, I understand that you need plastics for medical purposes. I understand that you need plastics for certain chemical things, but we don't need them. We don't need ketchup, in a plastic jar. Not for one, it leaches toxic chemicals into your ketchup. So be careful, everybody. If you're using plastic container stuff, you can go back to glass. And by the way, glass, we had the perfect solution in the 50s. We had glass. There was no plastic. And guess what? Glass is 100% recyclable. So we already have a solution. We don't need to scramble for a solution. When we talk about changing plastics, we're talking through the terms of the companies. How come the companies keep making tons of extra money and not lose their additional money on plastics? That's not the conversation we need to have. The conversation we need to have is that glass already works. You want us to buy something plastic, give us a better alternative. And there's a lot of great plastic alternatives out there. And one of the positives in the news today is, where do I have it here? I want to show it to you all. This is a website that will show us, let's see, one second. Let me click in on that. There's actually a company that's trying to invent a plant-based, plastic-free, let's see, where is this here? There's just so much actually really innovative good news out there. I have to say, I cannot find the article I wanted to show you all, but it's okay. We could talk about it. Here it is. Plastics they want to make these. It's a company called Advantium, and it's a biochemical company in the Netherlands. Now, automatically it's like, whoa, but we got to remember we need to put these companies on our side. They're not just the enemy. The ones that are polluting are the enemy, and the only way they'll be our friends is if they stop. So we have to let's try to make friends with everybody and get all these people to stop poisoning us. But this company is fighting right now to make plant-based plastics that will degrade, fully compost in 1 year, which is great. So there are already a lot of innovation headed towards that. We haven't hit it yet, and we haven't hit it on the affordability level. I mean, no offense to anybody that thinks Tesla is great, but if you're offering a solution that only 1% of the population can indulge in, it's not going to change the world. For rich people driving Teslas in Los Angeles doesn't help. It just doesn't help. Common people like me, like you guys, all of us, we need accessibility to sustainability. And this is always the problem, is that they cut off accessibility to sustainability, and they make only the cheaper products available with the plastic. They're trying to force our hand, and it's difficult when you have a budget, but there's always a solution. Let's see. Camilla said, yeah, okay. Manufacturing. Yeah, definitely. Manufacturing, I agree. That is a massive, massive uptick of a problem. And as our emissions go unregulated in our country, in the U.S., it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I'd love to hear from everybody also about how it runs in other countries as well. Sherry. Hey, good morning, Sherry. Dilution is not the solution to pollution. Absolutely. Now, Sherry brings that up because in Florida, Mosaic and other companies, Big Ag, sugar, will say, look, we know that this stuff's toxic, and the level we're releasing it at is so toxic, it's illegal. But we're going to put it into your river. And that river, because we're putting 1 drop into 1,000 drops of water, will become diluted, and it'll be safe. Now, we all know that that's not true. But they do say, they try to push the concept that dilution is the solution to pollution. It's absurd. It's, again, putting all the pressure down on the downstream solution instead of the upstream solution, which will cost them money. They only use plastic because it costs them money, and that's it. And companies that need it, I mean, look, I had to help with a family member that, was going through a very difficult time, that was in the hospital, at home. And we need plastics. I mean, we use a lot of rubber gloves. There's no problem in that. We dispose of them properly, but at the same time, they're rubber gloves. So, the things that are toxic should be left for only industrial use. And I think that the medical community deserves access to plastics and things like that. And PPE. That should be the very minimal. Anyway. Back to the good news. There's enough bad news to always jump into. But anyway, that's why Sherry says that. And Sherry, I appreciate you saying that because it's absolutely not the solution. The solution is upstream. The solution is to get these corporations to listen to the actual empirical data instead of trying to twist it to cherry pick the parts that they need to continue business as usual and allow these permits to go through. And people are so aware these days, they're saying no more, no thank you. Colleen says, thanks for the great start to the day. Yes, enjoy your coffee, everybody. Thank you, Colleen. Thanks for going out and doing a cleanup today. The world needs it. There is just way too much stuff going on out there. And, that's one of the bad parts, too, is that if you do a plastic cleanup, unfortunately, a lot of the plastics that are going in the water are still being damaged and leaching out these things. And one of the most toxic chemicals, and I bring this up a lot, is PVC. The PVC manufacturing is one of the worst manufacturings around. There's actually a fantastic episode on it on a show called Dirty Money on Netflix. And if you go to, I think it's season 2, and I want to say it's the very last, it's about the Formosa plant in Texas. So the Formosa plant in Texas, the Formosa plant in Nova Scotia, and I'm going to be down checking out the Formosa plant in New Orleans come this fall. So back to the good news. One more good news, just to wrap up our coffee today. And I love this because these are international innovations leading towards the problems that we all face, the same. We even kind of wonder if the solutions sometimes might be localized, and they are sometimes very localized, and at the same time, they are international. And we learned in film school, the more individual the story, the more international. Because what I go through, I know a lot of people go through, and we're all meant to feel like we don't go through it together, but everybody, we do go through it together. We're all together in this. You know, we all feel isolated. We feel like we're losing the ability to know exactly what's happening as monitoring groups disappear. I mean, here's an example. I went to the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality Group, which is one of the two groups that regulates emissions controls in Cancer Alley in Louisiana. And that website's just down. It's just down. Like they're not even pretending to try anymore. So we can try. We will force their hand by economy and changes and the way that our minds change, you know, because all businesses do is try to make money, and they're only going to make money when they think they can sell something. And if they think that they've got us one way, they'll sell it. And if not, we're going to go in another direction. So if more A Corps start working like B Corps, then we are going to start going back to those corporations and buy things from them. Trey, on a related note, you mentioned how corporations are not necessarily the problem and they present the opportunity to shape our disposable future. One thing I deal with is coastal flooding programs, and many municipalities are losing their A-plus bond ratings because they do not have adequate flood plans. Interesting. This is a great example of private pressure to force public policy. Wow. Perhaps one day we'll see this type of pressure towards other types of sustainability. That's really, really interesting. Trey, thank you for letting us in on that, because that is a fascinating, and the municipalities are losing their A-plus bond ratings because they do not have adequate flood plans. So, you know, even there we find that, you know, it's a very interesting, I think, very, very interesting. And it is a symbiotic thing. And I'm sure at the root of it, it has to do with, you know, some board members' decision somewhere down the line, you know. And Trey, you know, you bring up a good point, because, like, look, this is what the municipality is dealing with. They're not worried about what the level of chlorine is at your child's, you know, water fountain in the elementary school. And that's something to remember: is municipal water. Your kids are drinking it at school. Old people are drinking it. Any public building has that water. We are all bathing in it. And don't forget that your dermis is the largest living organ in your body, and it absorbs all these chemicals when you take a shower. So even if you have a water filter, until we put pressure on places to demand cleaner air and water, we can't escape it. I mean, it's when you get the hot air and all that steam's coming up, it's absorbing directly into you. So we all are tied together at risk, and we all need to make these changes together. So Trey, thanks for bringing that up. That's really cool. That's really interesting to see, because these are the financial pressures, you know. And, you know, like I always say, companies, they don't speak our language. I mean, they're not. It's not their job to. You know, they speak the language of profit, and all we can do is we are either contributing or removing their profit. And what we need to do is remove the profit from the people that we don't feel have our ideals or our values. You know, ethically shopping is something that's a very new phenomenon. Think about it. Nobody cared about ethically shopping back in the 40s or 50s, or, you know, people started to get more conscious in the 80s. But it's not really until now that everybody from, you know, the most conservative to the most liberal, the richest to the poorest, every single member of society is now concerned with the future to make sure that there is things like clean drinking water and clean bathing water for families. You know, and Trey, you know, it kind of lifts up the curtain also on what's happening behind the scenes, because you've got local governments, you've got state, you've got federal, you've got private industry, and all of them have a piece of what we call it in the UN classes as shareholders, you know, and everyone is a shareholder. You know, the companies that have money at stake, those of us that have our lives at stake, you know, other things in between that all come through this. We're all shareholders in the event. There's the manufacturers, the producers, the sellers. It's a whole list of everybody, and I think the complication is that we all wish that we could just have one shareholder make a change and it would change everything. But in the end, it involves moving a lot of shareholders, and that it definitely involves wrangling cats, as the expression goes. And so it's very rarely do we see those victories. Victory like Florida had with the shark finning bill. Amazing victory. And in conservation, enjoy your victories. You got to enjoy them while you get them. So those are some of the wonderful things that are happening right now. People are fighting back against all of this pollution that's happening, even on the major levels. With Deutsche Bank repealing their money for the most destructive companies in the world. And then there's actually, I just think we should get together and talk every day about positive things the companies are doing, people that we can look towards, people that we can talk about. So I want to end on a very positive note today, which is education. Now, education over here, we're all wrapped up in it. The kid's going to go to college, not go to college. I paid these tuition fees. So we're going to remove the minutia of looking at our own politics at the moment and just branch out a touch. And we're going to talk about in the western coast of Africa, where a lot of these kids do not have things like running water, and they do not have electricity. And they do not have the internet and the Wi-Fi. So, Trey, all right, man, great to see you. Take care. I can't wait to see you again soon. I'll send you a message. I'm banned on Facebook, but I'll send you another message. I want to catch up with you about some stuff as well that I'm working on. I want to talk to you about. Anyway, Trey, take care, man. Thank you for joining us today. So the problem is a lot of these children cannot get the proper education. What they've done, and this is beautiful. So you have that. That's one of the ingredients. Plus, the second ingredient is an excess of plastics. Now, some places like Kenya, I believe, and I can't remember the other. I want to say it's maybe Rwanda. There's 2 or 3 countries in Africa that have actually banned plastic manufacturing, which is a huge step towards sustainability. And amazingly, it's given more jobs for people to make paper bags than the amount of jobs used, and the manufacturing is way less of an eco indention. So these kids are having problems because when they go home from school, they cannot do their homework if it's past dark. Now you got to imagine some nights they get out of school at 3, they get home by 4. The sun goes out by 5:30 on during the shorter days, and so that does not give them enough time to study or learn. So what a bunch of companies are starting to do over there, which I think is beautiful, is they're getting communities to go out, pick up trash, bring the trash to recycle centers. And in those recycle centers, they are creating backpacks that have a solar panel in them and also a light so that the kids can turn it on and see it. So I got some of these a few pictures for you guys to check out. So this one I love because here are the kids getting they're given these backpacks. They don't have to buy them. This is the other beauty of it. They're given to these backpacks on the first day. Every child gets one. And that shows me that country wants every child to succeed. And those kids have a lot to battle against, to overcome in order to succeed. So here are the kids getting their backpacks. And it's just funny because like the kid on the right, it's just everywhere in the world, all kids have that same look when they're in school, right? Like some are excited, some are just like, but this is an example here of the backpack at use. And you can see that the backpack opens and then it charges up the batteries all day when these kids are walking around with the backpacks, and then the light comes on and they have a solution, which is just awesome. So, super, super excited about that. And see, the kids are just walking around during the daytime, and these solar panels, this is another version of it, these solar panels are picking up on the batteries that will eventually allow them to use the light at night. So beautiful invention. It's what happens when you combine, I think, love and ingenuity, and it's not a Tesla thing. There's not one kid walking around with it because the backpack cost $8 million, So I believe, don't get me wrong, Tesla's a wonderful step in the right direction, but it's being a little too waved around as some form of a solution. And the only way it's going to be a solution is if he makes it affordable to everybody. Now, I have seen that there's possibilities that he's considering creating a car that is affordable, that's under, I think, $10,000 even, that is run with the same batteries with the Tesla. So he's on the precipice of revolution, but at the moment it's just He's just doing it for himself and his profits. So, it's a step in the right direction. We got to give him credit for that. I say salute, because any innovation that we can run in a forward direction is perfect. So, anyway, guys, I just wanted to share a couple of really cool, positive news stories with you that give me a smile, that remind me that we literally are all in this together worldwide. And the poorest kid, no matter where they are in the world, is the responsibility of the most able people anywhere else in the world. It's just a humanity responsibility we have. And I'm really impressed to see manufacturers and companies starting to listen to us and starting to make the changeover. So, look, we've been yelling since the 80s, and just now companies are listening. But you know what? They're listening. So, again, another step of positivity. So, if you're stuck at home, you're aggravated, every time you turn on the news is bad news, bad news, bad news. Remember, there is a lot of beautiful, good news out there, and I love having this conservation coffee with everybody. I think it's something I'm going to start doing Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So let's get together. Let's talk about positive things that are happening out there. Let's remove all this accelerated, heightened level of frustration and anger that seems to become the common discourse right now in our country. And let's bring back in conversations and positivity. And remember, every day, the world is healing a little bit. Yeah, it's being attacked, but there's a lot of incredible souls out there fighting to keep it healed. And anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Have a great Tuesday. This has been our first conservation coffee. Really fun. I will see everybody tomorrow morning with a few more positive news stories. And we'll always do those. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks for being in. Trey, Camilla, Colleen, awesome to have everybody here today, and everybody else that I didn't mention. I can't see who's watching. I can only see the comments at the moment. So, all right, everybody, take care. Enjoy your tea or coffee or whatever it is. And please, everybody, look, we have this ritual built in. This is what I wanted to talk about, and I forgot earlier. We have this ritual built in to have coffee or tea in the morning, right? When you wake up, you are not expected to jump into the world. You are allowed to have your coffee or your tea first. But don't forget to give yourself that coffee break later in the day. You don't need to drink coffee, but give yourself the break. Don't let the world just continually poke at you all the time. Give yourself a half hour where you can't help anybody, you can't do anything. You're just there to center yourself, because the more centered you are, the stronger you will be in this very long battle we have towards a cleaner environment. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. It's just something I've been thinking about myself from my own personal feelings of what we're doing here. We have a great moment to come out positive. Anyway, everybody, happy Tuesday, happy conservation coffee, and I will see everybody tomorrow morning. Have a great day.